friends and family. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me. This is Joy, Pink Girl Teaches, and I hope that you are all doing well. I truly do appreciate your time, your support, as well as your kindness and compassion, not just towards me, but as well as how you express it towards each other. That is what community is about, and that is what support, and what we need for this journey is really about. So continue to be great and help one another as we all journey beyond narcissistic abuse. Today I wanted to talk to you about defeating the narcissist once and for all. Isn't this what we really want? To be able to defeat them. And it's not that we're going to yank them up somewhere or yoke them up somewhere and pound them. No, that's not what this is about. But this is about being able to get rid of them within ourselves, within our subconscious mind, so that we are no longer triggered by thoughts of them, so that we are no longer anxious when we deal with them, and that's for those who have to co-parent. And so that we can just move on, we can fully release them and move forward in our life. It is possible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's an easy thing to do. It does take time. And it also requires that you become intentional with your healing. And not just with your healing about, overcoming narcissistic abuse, but as well as your quest for self-discovery, as well as how you love yourself, how you show up in yourself. All of this is going to play a role, and it's going to require you being committed to that process. In order for us to really arrive at the place of emotional victory, mental victory, physical victory, psychological victory, financial victory, and even spiritual victory after narcissistic abuse, it's important that we really guard our minds, guard our hearts, guard what we hear and what we see. We've got to be careful that we are careful with what we are allowing to become the soundtrack of our lives. You have to remember that your thoughts are so important. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your thoughts form your habits, they form your patterns, and you become what you think. Part of what you think is going to require how you talk to yourself. You're going to have to evaluate how you talk to yourself. When we consider all the things that we face, and there's so many, I wouldn't even be able to list it all, when we are dealing with narcissists: projection, triangulation, isolation, smear campaign, gaslighting, the trauma bonds, the walking on eggshells. It's so important that we change the perspective. When narcissists come into our lives, what we feel is that we found somebody who's there to love us, somebody who's there to have friendship with, somebody who's there to partake in life with. And one of the most discouraging, and I think one of the most devastating things, is when this is a parent. You don't get to choose your parents. They just are who they are, And one thing I think some people have difficulty in accepting or acknowledging that this person meant me no good is we have to separate the title that they have with the way they treat us. So for instance, if this is a mother, if this is a spouse, if this is a child, let's take away that title and consider, how do they treat you? And let those patterns, the patterns that they have established over time, speak for you. Let them speak and let them highlight what category this person deserves to be in your life. It's important that we set things in perspective. We get our mind focused on what is really happening. I say this a lot. I say it very often, that narcissistic abuse really starts off as an assault on your mind. Once your mind is involved and the narcissist has been able to dominate your mind, they begin to work on and it's just a cascading effect. It's nothing more that they have to do. They continue with the mind games. But once they have access to your mind, they have access to your emotions, and your will follows. That's what gives them access to your soul, mind, emotion, and will. And that's how our response has to be. We've got to work it out in the mind. Philippians 4 verse 8 says, "Finally, brethren, whatsoever things that are true, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on those things." So we've got to train our minds to start seeing the better things in life. The good things that we may not have ever experienced, the good things that we sometimes feel like we don't deserve. And how could you think you deserve them if for so long all you've ever heard are the words that are coming from a narcissist, when all you've experienced is the treatment that comes from somebody near and dear to you, and it's repetitive, that it's embedded in your subconscious? It has to come out. And that is when you begin the process of defeating the narcissist. And when you embark on this journey, one of the very first things that I want you to tell yourself is that, yes, I may be in a battle, I may be in a war, but I don't war from the same position that the narcissist does. I war from a position of victory. That's right. You war from a position of victory. The victory is the battle is not yours. You can hand this over to God. The victory is that if you are able to accept in your mind that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, you've already won this battle, because you're submitting and you're surrendering it to God. You're asking him, Lord, teach me how to walk through this season of my life, because your word says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear. But God, I'm feeling fearful right now. Teach me how to release this fear. Teach me how to lean in on you. Teach me how to walk through this season. Teach me how to show up in my life. God, show me peace in this day. He is faithful, and he will do it for you the same way he does it for me. You can try him at his words. You know, it's important that you also understand and you tell yourself that this person, they didn't love you. You cannot pour from an empty vessel, and based on how they act and how they treat other people, and when we get to meet them after, the devaluation or the discard, that's who they are. All the time that they're love bombing, that's you. You are introduced to yourself. You are living and experiencing yourself during love bombing. Once the devaluation and the discard come along, that's who they are. You get to see them in their full glory or lack thereof. Now you tell yourself that this person doesn't love themselves because look how they are when they're in that moment where they're devaluing. They're showing you who they are. That is not somebody who loves themselves. And how can they love them? How can they love you when they don't love themselves? You have to pour out, and they don't have that. But let's keep it real. If we can be real honest with each other, it's not that they just don't love you. They never even liked you. And I know that's a difficult one to accept, but I had to accept it too. These are facts that I had to face. This person didn't even like me. How can I say that so comfortably and so confidently? Is because when they first met you, while you are still floating on cloud 9, they're getting access into your inner circle and beginning to tell people things that devalue you. You are still being love bombed, but they're already on chapter whatever, setting the scene for when they want to start devaluing you publicly, when they want to play the victim. They are grooming other people not to receive your story of pain, not to hear you when you say, hey, this is what's going on at home. This is what's happening behind closed doors. That is not what you do to somebody that you care about. That is not what you do to somebody that you like. That is something that you do to somebody that you are using, that you have an agenda against, that you have a hit on. They didn't even like you. Listen, I had to swallow that pill too. But remember that you're the one who is powerful here because you are warring from a position of victory. We are not the same. Don't listen to what they say. You got to remember that the enemy, the adversary, is the accuser of the brethren. They will lump and pile false labels, false characteristics, false everything onto you to hold you back, to keep you from seeing who you truly are. And it's important that you wake up to the glory that resides on the inside of you. It's not because you're wonderful, but it's because of who you've been created to be, as well as who created you. The narcissist always will have you living in error if you buy into the belief that they are right when they say these things about you. They will have you living in error when you buy into the illusion that they project that they are better off without you. No, you are better off without them. Let's set things in perspective. You are better off without them because at the end of the day, you didn't need them for anything. You didn't need them for anything. You've got to tell yourself, I did not need, and you can insert their name, for anything. That's setting things in perspective. They did you no favors. They didn't lead you into any green pastures. They did not elevate you at all. They did not demonstrate any love for you. They brought confusion. They brought misery. They brought bad memories. They brought you needing to go on Google to figure out what's going on here. That's nothing positive. Set things in perspective. They never loved you. And they never liked you. The moment we can accept these difficult truths is when we can advance further in the journey of healing. And it really wasn't, for me personally, it wasn't until I was like, okay, I don't understand it, but I'm going to hold on to this fact that he never cared about me. He never loved me. He never meant me well. And he would never have changed for me. You know, you can't force anybody to change. There's no amount of good loving. There is no amount of being a doormat. There's no amount of anything that can make a person, narcissist or not, change. People change for who and what they want to change for. People change when they are ready to change. These ones are not going to change, and we just have to accept those facts for what they are. But you have to understand that on the other side of this valley, on the other side of this pain, on the other side of these bitter memories, there is a table that has been prepared for you. There is a whole banquet feast where you are the guest of honor. And you've got to journey through this valley so that you can get to the banquet. And as you take that journey, consistently feed yourself with things that are true, with things that are just, with things that are lovely, with things that are of good report. If there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. It's time to change the way that you talk to yourself. I'm going to need you to talk to yourself like somebody you love. It's easy sometimes to talk about other people in a good light, but I need you to have that same energy when you talk to yourself. Talk to yourself like somebody you respect. Even if you don't feel like it, talk to yourself like somebody you respect. Treat yourself like somebody you love. Just like I said it with the narcissist, that they can't pour from an empty cup. It's time for us to fill up our cups of self-love, our cups of self-compassion, our cups of extending grace to ourselves, our cups of being kind to ourselves, being understanding and patient with ourselves. Let's love ourselves adequately and wholly. These are the ways that we defeat the narcissist once and for all. because all of this is going to lead us into the revelation that we were always enough, that our lives are whole and complete without them. That, again, at the end of the day, friend, you're the privilege. You've always been the privilege. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day with me. I look forward to talking with you some more and very soon. But until then, love yourself. Be good to yourself and treat yourself with respect. Honor yourself and enjoy what life has in store for you. I thank you so much for your time. Until the next time, God bless you.